What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Center of the Chaos and Controversy, and I know that it's been a minute since I posted one of these videos. But what better way to come back than to come back discussing the controversy surrounding Kyrie Irving? Okay. Now I saw many reaction videos, many content creators commenting on the backlash he was getting for tweeting a suggestion to go see a movie that was on Amazon called Hebrew to Negro. Okay. And somehow that turned into an issue amongst the Jewish community to where it had them portray him as being anti-Semitic for making a suggestion to go watch a particular movie that has been out for 4 years already. Okay. Now, this is what I want to say. I know whenever having any points brought up or even having a discussion or even talking about those within the Jewish community, it is a very, very touchy, how should I say, sensitive line to even walk on. Okay? Because whenever they are brought up, you have to be very careful in what you say. And the funny thing about that is, ironically, is that everything that they say that they are not for, they contradict themselves and they validate the points that are being made by the actions from their reaction. By canceling people, shutting them down, especially those within the black community. Now, those within the black community don't have anything against the Jewish people. What I've come to see through my observation, whenever they are mentioned through the mouths of black people, is to, one, bring up certain passages from the Bible when talking about those that were once captives or in the captivity of their land. They are the true Hebrews or whatever. I heard that being mentioned. Okay. Knowing who we are, because we have had our identity stripped from us. So when searching to gain knowledge of self, I don't see anything wrong with that. And most people don't like the truth to be exposed, because then that might not only bring about the question of the identity of a particular class already in existence. Now, here's my question, because, I always find myself observing a lot of things, questioning a lot of things, paying attention to details, and basically this is just my perspective, right, wrong, or indifferent, because I know there's gonna be some that want to sit there and play off of semantics and want to get all fucking critical and want to sit there and want to be like, oh, whatever. I'm not here for that, but I'm just through the lens of observation, take notice of a lot of things. Now, right or wrong, were we not during a time of people who weren't necessarily free, pretty much was discriminated against, pretty much, how should I say, terrorized by domestic terrorists within the country in which we were captives in until we were freed, but weren't granted the privileges, the civil rights, the equalities and liberties as those who oversaw us. Okay. But if I'm not mistaken, weren't we the ones that had to fight in the war when the Jewish people were going through that Holocaust era? And even though we were U.S. soldiers, we weren't treated equally, but yet we went to go fight on your behalf. Okay? U.S. soldiers that were black were found hung in their uniforms. Okay? When it came to the German POWs, they were treated better than black U.S. military soldiers. But we were fighting for the Jewish people. Okay? And not only once you guys were freed from the tyrannical whatever regime from Adolf Hitler and the Nazis and stuff like that, you didn't only get reparations from Germany, but you got reparations from the United States as well. And Ricky Manor pretty much kind of went over and threw a few gems out there as to why that was so, which blew my mind when hearing the context behind that whole situation. Okay. But yet black people are anti-Semitic towards Jewish people. When you hear people that say they envy how they see a group come together as a collective because their group alone are so divided and lost, how's that anti-Semitic? Pretty much the envy is parallel to gratitude and how should I put this? Being in admiration of and wanting to be like that of such. Because when we see those prevailing, succeeding, where we are stagnant, we are looking up to that example. Okay? Now, as far as the identity crisis goes, I don't know too much about Jewish because I heard that it wasn't, that they were a people that weren't of a race or they were a religion or what have you or whatever. Because I know for a fact, before people start coming at me with some stupid shit, when I got with my oldest son's mother, who happened to be Jewish, so that makes my son partly Jewish, I was like, how do you guys identify as being Jewish? And they're like, well, we're not like the rabbi Jewish. We are just the people of being Jewish, you know. I said, okay. I mean, I didn't really understand it, but, you know, that's what I got for explanation. And to want to know, because there's a lot of information when it comes to us in the black community that has been whitewashed. The narrative has been put before us based on other people's perspective, not our own. And sometimes the truth is, yes, you know, held from us. So we have to do our due diligence and research the facts and the information for ourselves. What I find to be interesting is when we bring about knowledge of self, it rubs people the wrong way. And it's funny how it's the people who aren't within the black community who are rubbed the wrong way the most. I find that very interesting. Now, here's an example. If Jewish people have a problem with black people identifying with being the original Hebrews or whatever, let me ask you this question, okay? We are all familiar with Malcolm X, right? And we saw how he went through the transition of being a criminal, this, that, and everything else, to joining the Nation of Islam and what have you. And he was pretty much the spokesperson for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, where I saw, looking at the movie, reading the book, and stuff, where things took a turn, was when Malcolm X took that we call it that trip or the passage to Mecca. And he was under the impression that Muslims were black. However, when he went to Mecca, he saw that Muslims were of various colors. It wasn't just black. He brought that knowledge back, and that didn't sit well. I wonder why. Because when those in the position of power, so to speak, have the authority or the influence to control the narrative, they only want people to see a portion of either the truth or the picture. They don't want people to see shit in its entirety. They only want to control what is being fed to the audience. So when it comes to accumulating knowledge of anything, yes, I question a lot of things, but if certain things are lining up and are consistent along the way and pretty much is validated and to the point where it's undeniable, what's the problem? When people speak of you better be careful because those in the position of power can, pretty much destroy your life. What does that say? What kind of message does that send and transcend to us spectators that are sitting back watching the nonsense unfold? Because I put you like this. If I was a person who didn't want to be called a racist, but yet I do shit that validates people and their opinion of me to call me that or such, I have no one to blame but myself. Okay? And it's interesting how a lot of people are condemning Kyrie Irving because he didn't say anything bad against Jewish people. Not that I've seen so far. He stands his ground on his perspective. But it's like when they go to make an example of somebody, why is it always at the expense of those who are black? I don't get that. And it's funny how when there's all this anti-black rhetoric that is being thrown out there and everybody's on board saying they're condoning it, and there's not the backlash that is given to those who entertain that when it comes to black people. But for anybody else, everybody's on code. Everybody comes together as a collective. Don't say nothing about that group. Don't say nothing about that group. But black people, we're just peons. And it's because it's so blatantly obvious that you can't even deny it. That's the boldness of the nonsense that I'm seeing. So while the anti-Semitic rhetoric is thrown out there to condemn people carelessly, as racism is thrown out there carelessly to condemn every white person, which I say when it comes to generalization, that's where it becomes a problem. Because, okay, here's what I find interesting. A lot of people have an issue when it comes to bringing up slavery and stuff like that. And I found out something interesting because, of course, the internet provides you with the knowledge that most educational institutes won't, especially from elementary to high school. And you got the whole controversy behind the CRT that make them sure they don't want you to know anything about black history. Okay? So that's the agenda that I know was put forth intentionally. What I found interesting that I did not know up until looking at a reaction video earlier was that when the slave trade ended and it was illegal to go get slaves from, the continent of Africa or whatever, um, that there was a loophole that the slave owners found, which they had other slaves from other plantations come and breed the female slaves that they own, and they had to produce anywhere from up to 10 to 15 kids. And if they couldn't get those to buck, whatever, the slave masters ended up doing it themselves, impregnating the female slave and creating more slaves that, was on the plantation. What was interesting when you find out how when we talk about reparations and stuff like that, that we talk about all the land that these people had that, we didn't even get much of. You know how they promised us 40 acres and a mule, and that was a bunch of bullshit. But finding out that the value of the slave, how they put bonds on us so they could continue to profit off of our existence, that shit blew my mind. I said, so when their argument is against reparations, oh, hell yeah, but then it says, but you were property. Just like you put bonds on anything that you have, and then you let that shit accumulate, and then you cash out. That's what they did to slaves when they could no longer trade them. They found a loophole to profit off of our existence and continue to breed us so that they could, which I find it funny and ironic when you hear these white supremacists or racists says, well, you don't believe in race mixing. Well, the slave masters who own slaves that didn't care too much for the Negro and then look at us as being human, they didn't have a problem with race mixing. But I got off point. But it's me getting to the point of saying that learning your history is important, even the uncomfortable parts of it that might make people, whatever, that challenges people's, conditioned mindset, so to speak. But not everything is black and white. Again, when we go to seek knowledge of self, it seems to always irritate, rub, and get people angered if we seek any type of truth about ourselves or about our history or anything of such. And I wonder why. And when I ask that question, I can never get a straight, definite, sensible answer. It's always a deflective. There's always some ignorant rebuttal. There's always some stupid individual that's entertaining semantics. I never get a person with some type of sense to sit there and debate me or educate me on certain things. It's just ignorance. And a lot of people deal with that. Because they'll present you with a whole bunch of ignorance before they sit down and talk to you sensibly. But anyway, that's what I had to say. It's just how I was just looking at this whole shit unraveling, and I'm saying, damn. And then some of the people like Shaq and Charles Barkley sitting there criticizing him. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like a person can't even have an opinion about something without being attacked, and he wasn't even distasteful, disgraceful, whatever about, he just made a. And then here's the thing that I noticed: a lot of content creators that are divisive on a lot of topics, damn near all agree on how this is nonsense. You attacking this man, but you're not attacking the platform Amazon in which this is being promoted. And again, this shit's been out 4 years already. So if it was a problem, why wasn't it attacked 4 years ago? Why now all of a sudden when somebody makes it a suggestion to go see it, it's a problem because he suggested it? Again, you don't have that same energy for the actual people who don't like Jewish people, who don't like black people, who don't like anybody within the gay community, who because they let you know right off the bat. No, that right there is anti-Semitic. But anyway, it is what it is. Until next time, until next video, please share, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Just please share your thoughts and leave a comment in the comment section if you will. No, I don't entertain the echo chamber, so if you have a difference of opinions, please let me know. Until then, peace.